Here comes Arnold. He's got some news to share with you.
What is going on, guys? It's your man, Arnold, and I'm with my co-host, Gary. I don't think you can see Gary. Hold up. There we go. Say hi, Gary.
Please help me, I am being kept hostage.
And I just got back from my week-long vacation, and I gotta say, what the heck is going on?
What's going on?
Now, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you will have known that I was on vacation for the past week. I turned off everything Discord related, turned off pretty much everything Galaxy of Heroes related, barely played the game, and was just enjoying life. I enjoyed the nice sunny weather in Florida, hit up some beaches, even went to see my man Mickey Mouse, and when I was at Disney World, look at this, guys. I made this, oh jeez, I made this beauty. And apparently during my little break from YouTube and Galaxy of Heroes, apparently myself and a couple of others are lapdogs for Capital Games and EA because we're too scared to say our opinion on the whole state of the situation. I would also like to point out the radio silence from the Game Changer Corner. They were all too scared to lose the Game Changer status if they say anything more negative than, hey, we want mod management. Grow balls, guys. That's exactly what I've been wondering. Where are they? Mobile Gamer's newest video is about farming Wampa or Hoda. Arnold T101 has been pretty much silent since the introduction of the raid. Maybe because I was on vacation. They are called Game Changers. How are they changing the game? Oh, my friends, my friends, my friends. A lot has happened behind the scenes, and just because you don't see it in action, it doesn't mean we're not doing anything. I'm glad you're not a game changer anymore to McMole2, so you can speak the truth, and we all know how much CG loves to hear what we truly feel. Now, don't get me wrong, I love McMole2. He's my man. Originally, way back when he got into the Game Changers program, I really helped to get him in because he provided awesome raid content, and to this day, he still provides awesome raid content. But why am I starting off this video about the whole Jedi Training Rey situation? Well, because there's this whole issue of being a game changer and not being a game changer, and apparently the whole idea that we can't express our opinions. Now, people seem to forget a lot of details. Over the course of many months of me playing this game and covering it on YouTube, I have expressed a lot of negativity towards this game when it was well deserved. People seem to forget my stance on the whole change from the 5-star Hoth Rebel Soldier to the 7-star change. People seem to forget that I went out there, made a video about this, and really stood on the platform that this needs to be changed. And on top of many other occasions, I've also mentioned that there's been much needed changes for the game, but of course, people seem to forget on the spot that me and others, we do stick our necks out there for the community when it's really needed. And I can tell you, we've had an open dialogue with the developers behind the scenes. Just because you weren't seeing it in videos doesn't mean we're not talking about the situation. Trust me, we talked about it a lot behind the scenes, and we got developers talking to us behind the scenes as well. So trust us, we're talking about it. Just because we're in the Game Changers program doesn't mean we're not talking about big topic issues. Believe me on that. And McMole2, I'm sure if he was even in the Game Changers program, he would provide the same opinion. He's really working hard to get back into the program. Many of you guys don't know that. And on top of that, people seem to forget the reason why McMole2 was removed from the program. And I can tell you personally, I know everything that happened behind the scenes. It had nothing to do with the fact that he expressed his sentiment towards the game way back when. Has nothing to do with it. I'm not going to talk about that now because that is not the point of the video, but just kind of want to set the record straight on reasons why we're not talking right now and the fact that we can express an opinion if we want to. So transitioning from that point of being in the Game Changers program and having an opinion to why some of us haven't been making videos covering the topic, i.e. there's a life beyond Galaxy of Heroes and people might want to go on a vacation, let's now talk about the Jedi Training Rey fiasco. Oh my! The world is coming to an end, people. Well, there's a lot of criticism I want to give towards the game and why we're in this situation right now, and I want to give some criticism towards the community because as a layperson who had no idea what was going on until I came back from vacation, I think I have a unique perspective on what's going on here. Now, over the course of the past week, a lot of events have transpired regarding the Sith Triumvirate Raid, and the first one that I noticed because I was on Twitter, but I didn't know what the drama was behind it, was the Stormtrooper Han trick, where with Stormtrooper Han in your team and using a Darth Vader lead or a Saj Ventress lead, for example, there was this infinite loop of turn meter for phase 3 and I believe phase 4 up against Darth Traya, where essentially you could put tons of damage out there and Darth Traya really couldn't do anything to you. So in response to this whole Stormtrooper Han thing that popped up out of nowhere, we got this long post written by CG Top Hat, one of the top guys over at Capital Games, who talked about their content philosophy towards the game. And now I'm not gonna go read the whole entire post. I did a video with Mobile Gamer where we went ahead and read the whole entire post together. But long story short, Top Hat, and on behalf of his developers over there, they are talking about the spirit of the raid. Now, many people don't know. Some people have the perception that the Sith Triumvirate Raid was made in like a month, but I can tell you from the presentation they gave us when visiting Capital Games at Sacramento, this was something that took over a year to develop. 6 months to kind of create the idea, get approval from Lucas, kind of get the mechanics down on paper, and then about 6 months of actually creating the event for us to play that we have right now. So the reason why we got this whole post from Capital Games is because they put all this work into it, and all these little, I don't know, bugs that are happening right now in this whole Jedi Training Rey thing, which we will talk about soon. We're kind of overshooting their expectations or their kind of intended guidelines for us to master and completely decimate this raid. So in a few moments here, we're going to talk about kind of arguments for both the developers and the community, and then my opinion later, but let's kind of keep moving this train of how the whole story progresses. So kind of fast forwarding things a bit, they kind of talk about how they're kind of fixing the bonds of weakness interaction to other interactions from Stormtrooper Han, Veteran Han, Smuggler Chewbacca. List goes on and on and on. You guys can read this. I'll leave a link down below for this. We get into the juicy topic of Jedi Training Rey, and this is the part that really gets people to flip their lid. So I made one video about Jedi Training Rey because I never tested the raid before, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna put a Jedi Training Raid team in just to kind of see how things work, and people kind of noticed the fact that the damage shown by the characters were different than the total number that I got for my ultimate damage in that particular phase 1 run. And the reason why there's such a huge gap between the character damage and the total damage is because all that extra damage that wasn't calculated per character comes from expose. And damage caused by expose, thermal detonators, I believe even death mark, they aren't counted per character. They're just kind of lumped into the ultimate total, but they aren't assigned to the character that actually applied the debuff. So on top of the whole Stormtrooper Han loophole they talked about in this post, they talked about exposes, and when you're talking about exposes, they really are talking directly towards Jedi Training Rey. Right now, Jedi Training Rey is probably the best team, hands down, to take on almost every single phase of the whole entire raid, and they kind of go on to say that our initial data indicates that expose is, horrible wording here, I think, stifling other teams from finding a competitive place in the Sith Triumvirate Raid. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be changing the percent health damage expose does in all raids. So right now, from what I'm interpreting, this change to expose should only affect the raid. So Jedi Training Rey is still going to be super viable in dark side or light side territory battles, territory wars, and arenas. This is only going to affect raids, at least if I'm correct in reading this. But at the same time, they're also going to be lowering the health of the Sith Triumvirate Raid slightly. Again, we don't know what's the percent change here, to bring the raid more in line with their intended design. The whole Stormtrooper Han thing, I think most can agree, it makes sense they fix this. Being able to just decimate the raid this early with the kind of a loophole or a bug, I think this definitely goes beyond what the intended design of the raid was and kind of undermines the spirit of the raid as the developer said here. So it's pretty much this last paragraph that's getting people going, and when you look around Reddit, I know it's not probably the best place to go to get the pulse of the community because Reddit's a very unique and interesting strain of the Galaxy of Heroes community, but you see a lot of people being irritated, posting 1-star reviews, telling people to get their refunds and whatnot, and I gotta talk a little bit about this because there's definitely a lot of blame to go on the developers as well as the community's reaction right now. So in regards to this Jedi Training Rey exposed situation, there's a lot of perspectives to take into consideration. So we're going to talk about what a developer's perspective might be, what a community perspective might be, and at the end, I'm going to give you my perspective on the whole situation. So I'm going to start off with the developer perspective right now, and what I'm going to say is not representative of Capital Games, Electronic Arts. This is not something that's coming from their mouths. It's just something I would imagine they would say if I was a developer at Capital Games designing the Sith Triumvirate Raid for over a year. This might be something I would want to say if I was sitting at their studios, but again, this has nothing to do with their opinion. This is just something I'm thinking of. So if I was a developer who put all this manpower into the raid and all of a sudden it gets released live and pretty much it's just getting decimated by Stormtrooper Han and Jedi Training Rey, I'd be pretty ticked. The point of a new raid, people, is to give us a challenge for months upon months upon months. People seem to forget when the AAT raid was released, this was kind of a similar reaction we got. It's too hard. It's too difficult. And now it's like, oh, Thrawn, CLS, BB-8 Han Solo, really easy raid to do. So between Stormtrooper Han's loophole and Jedi Training Rey really being the only dominant team, we're kind of going way beyond their intended mastery curve they kind of had planned out for this game. And that's not something really fun you want to have on day one of a release of an event. Maybe down the line, months later, yes, of course, we're going to make the raid really easy to beat with introductions of new characters, for example, or new effects or new abilities, but not day one of the release of a raid. Jedi Training Rey is a much more difficult conversation, and regardless of what's going on with the raid, guys, she will be great for other aspects of the game. So if you're saying you're getting a refund because you invested in Jedi Training Rey, I think that's a really silly thing to say because she still is one of the best characters in the game. This is just mainly regarding her effect on the Sith Triumvirate Raid. The problem from a developer's perspective is you don't want a raid this early to be beatable by just people having Jedi Training Rey. They want to promote diversity on how you go about this raid, and their approach, I'm guessing, is by making raids exposes in general not be as effective in the raid. We don't want a game mode where guilds are saying, if you don't have Jedi Training Rey, you can't be in this guild because we need Jedi Training Rey for this guild. You want to have people be able to get into guilds with the variety of characters that they have that are viable for the raid, because right now it seems like if you don't have Stormtrooper Han and if you don't have Jedi Training Rey, you're not being in the guild. Probably the biggest hole that Capital Games has fallen in is the fact that their kits for their characters are getting extremely powerful over the course of the game. For example, Jedi Training Rey, since she's our main topic, she has irresistible exposes, irresistible turn meter, and that probably sets the stage poorly for when they want to release future raids, because when they release future raids, they have to keep worrying about Jedi Training Rey just absolutely dominating it. Most likely then, this raid was a realization that, shoot, Jedi Training Rey is really good, and now that it's live, they probably are just trying to lick their wounds, fix it, and move on. We don't know what's really going to happen in the end when we change the overall viability of exposes and changing the health of the raid, reducing it down a little bit, but overall, I still think Jedi Training Rey will still be one of the top contending teams right now, but the problem is, you're saying that Jedi Training Rey is the problem or exposes, but the raid is still very difficult. So now we're going to kind of try to transition over to what the community argument might be. Nerfing is never a fun thing for the community. It's something that people usually dreadfully hate. I played a lot of games, and it's not fun when people nerf things. So Capital Games, their history timeline has usually been they release something better than what seems to be broken. And here they're actually, it seems like they're going across the line where they're nerfing a character's or a squad's viability in a particular area of the game. The raid is really hard, no doubt about that. A very hard event, and I definitely think it needs some rebalancing or needs some features tweaked around. But the reason why people are kind of complaining is because right now, Jedi Training Rey is really the only team that makes it really easy to clear phases because she has turn meter that cannot be resisted. And that is something really important versus others. You can get your turn meter resisted. So a lot of people love Jedi Training Rey for all the exposes, her mind trick abilities, and now it seems like they're kind of toning that back a little bit, and that's what's getting people upset. So they're talking about wanting to promote the whole thinking outside the box. They want you to think of other teams aside from Jedi Training Rey. Well, why don't you somehow work the raid in a way where we're able to use other different types of teams? I know one thing people are complaining is the incredibly high tenacity on the raid bosses, which makes it a bit difficult to get damage up there and to also control them a little bit. So that's problem number one right there. So from the perspective of the community, just kind of reducing the viability of Jedi Training Rey isn't going to solve our problems. Yes, if you're going to reduce her viability a little bit in the raids, fine, but somehow either make other characters better so we can do some good damage out there, or somehow reduce the difficulty of the raid just a little bit, such as the tenacity, the health of the raid, yada, yada, yada. But from a community perspective, we just can't say, all right, Jedi Training Rey isn't going to be as amazing, and that's it. That can't be the only solution here. So that was just a quick perspective on what Capital Games and developers might be thinking, what the community might be thinking, but what does Arno think? Someone who took a week-long break from the game and all of a sudden came back to this apparent fiasco. What am I thinking about this whole situation? The short part of my thought is that, guys, everything is going to be fine in the end. I'm pretty sure of it. We made it through the mod fiasco way back when. If you weren't around, the mod fiasco is probably one of the worst moments in Galaxy of Heroes history. We made it past that. We made it past the whole 5-star to 7-star Hoth Rebel Soldier thing. We made it past that. That was a big issue right there that I for sure had to say something about. But I have to say though, the situations that are popping up with Stormtrooper Han, Jedi Training Rey, the exposes, the balance of the whole raid, that is definitely on kind of Capital Games right there, because it seems like the whole Sith Triumvirate Raid was really rushed and just wasn't really ready to go live. It's already kind of out of the bag, but a lot of people know when we visited Capital Games at Sacramento, when we went there, we really only got to test Visa Smar and Scion, and we didn't get to test anything regarding the Sith Triumvirate Raid and Trey, but Trey is a completely different reason on why we're not able to test her just yet. But usually every single time you visit Capital Games, they usually let us test out the big feature, but for some reason, during the Sacramento trip, we only got a PowerPoint. We didn't really even see any footage. We got footage the night before of the videos we posted about the overview of the Sith Triumvirate Raid. Pretty much, they just weren't ready to push out this event, and this kind of goes to them probably setting expectations too high and kind of getting themselves stuck in the corner. During January and February, Capital Games was really hyping the fact that February is supposed to top what happened last month, February, with Darth Nihilus and all that fun stuff. They were really trying to set the expectation that this month was supposed to be amazing, or I should say February was supposed to be amazing. All this stuff right now with balancing the raid, balancing certain characters, balancing exposes, this all should have been done beforehand. And frankly, this is just one of those situations where things were just rushed. They kind of hyped up February that they were going to have something amazing by the end of February, and it just seems like there's a lot of stuff that still kind of slipped through the cracks that should have been addressed beforehand. My opinion on Jedi Training Rey and the whole reducing the viability of exposes to make it not as powerful, when I came back after a week of no Galaxy of Heroes news, I read this yesterday, I was like, I'm not seeing why people are freaking out too much. We don't know what the overall change is going to be. It could be just a minor change, maybe a 5%, maybe a 10% change. We don't know what the change to expose is going to be. They're not going to probably reduce it to like 100% negativity where it's useless. Expose will probably still have a use in the game somehow. I think we just need to hold on and wait to see what's going on. I personally do not want to have a raid that is completely beatable in a week and I could just start posting zeros. I want a raid that kind of keeps us engaged for a couple months, kind of gets the guild thinking, building a puzzle together, and to do that, you need to make other characters viable or change the mechanics of the raid, because just reducing the viability of Expose and potentially Jedi Training Rey herself is not the solution to the problem. So the developers need to sit back and kind of think over, look at the data, and find ways to, yeah, fine-tune back Expose or whatever in Jedi Training Rey, but also find ways to either reduce the overall difficulty of the raid and make other characters better so we can have guilds not say Jedi Training Rey or bust. This is supposed to be an event that combines all different types of strategies, abilities, and whatnot, and something that's gonna be everlasting instead of just relying on one team to take on the whole entire raid. But you guys let me know down below in the comments. Maybe I'm being a bit too chillaxed about the situation. Maybe the beach vibes got to my head. I think overall we're going to be okay, but you guys let me know down below. What are your concerns? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please, if you did enjoy this video, leave me a like, comment down below, and subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And as always,